Yes, you are bad at being quiet. Well, unless you're not really trying to be.
And then...
Yes. All right, so we're recording now. This is us recording. What?
This is like the first time in like 6 months.
Yeah, it's been... Well, no, not 6 months.
No.
I think it's
really this
February.
year, yeah.
Yeah, so 3 months, technically. But yeah, so some stuff has happened. How about that?
Stuff and things.
Usually stuff does happen, though. That's the weird thing about it. Also, what happens is sometimes Todd and I get together before we record and we go eat somewhere. And then we talk in the car and we're like,
why aren't we recording this?
Yeah, we should be recording this. But we'll try to... I mean...
We didn't fully discuss things.
Yeah, exactly. We just briefly touched upon them. So obviously we have Doctor Who to talk about. We have MST3K to talk about.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Exactly. Guardians of the Galaxy. And then, other random stuff.
Things that happen.
Yeah, we can talk about how France has a system that allows them to elect people based on, the populace vote.
Yeah, go figure that,
So
right?
That's crazy.
And not to mention, what was the meme that was floating around yesterday? I saw it's this is the first time in our history that the country of France has a president who speaks English more fluently than our president.
Yep, and they're not wrong, because our president is a moron. But, so anyway, getting that out of the way.
Okay.
Joe and Chris don't explicitly talk about... Well, they don't on purpose talk about politics, but they get drawn into it with some of the content of, Doctor Who episodes. So they've talked a little bit about Brexit and that type of thing this year. But, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my beverage. I'm opening up the Arizona Grapeade Fruit Juice Cocktail, which is vitamin C fortified. Proudly proclaimed by a banner on their lovely can. It's a very, very interesting color scheme. I like it. It's got a lot of purple, a lot of green.
Grape ape.
Yeah, grape ape, not so much. Do you remember, sorry, let me open this up and get that done with.
Ooh.
Yes, can opening sound.
Foley.
Yes, Foley Arts, exactly. What is that company? I think it's Farrapan. They make, those little tiny boxes of hard candies. And there's a cherry flavored one and a grape flavored one. And Lemonheads is the most popular flavor.
Right.
Remember those?
Yes.
And at one point, the cherry flavored one had a very unfortunate name and packaging.
Was it Cherry Bomb or something
well,
like that?
now they're just called Cherry Heads.
Right.
But at one point, when I was a kid at least, they were called Cherry Clan.
Okay.
And they had a series of unfortunate Asian stereotypes. Like little anthropomorphized pieces of candy and wearing little hats and teeth sticking out and such. Very, very unfortunate.
Stuff that would not be happening nowadays.
And the grape one was called Alexander the Grape.
Yes.
And he was like a Roman centurion. But they were the cheapest.
It was $1/4 for a box.
Yeah, not giving a shit type candy. They also had
Lemonheads. That was
Lemonheads,
right?
But outside of the fruit range, they also had Boston baked beans,
which.
Yeah, which is a really strange idea.
Why? That's a candy?
Hey, why don't we make a candy that tastes like baked beans? But I ate them when I was a kid, so...
I had friends that ate them, and I'm like, I don't want that.
And I think they also made a burnt peanut. It was basically the same... It was basically like a peanut coated with the Boston baked bean coating, but then they're burned. So they're all crusty on the outside.
I don't remember that.
They look very bubbly. It's like if you were making or caramelizing sugar and it went too far and it got all crusty looking. And those were okay. But yeah, those were some straight up cheap ass candies.
Because it was those for me and my friends in the neighborhood. It was those candies, and it was Now and Laters.
Yeah, we had Now and Laters. I think people where I grew up were more interested in Jolly Ranchers. Especially as it went into the 90s because everything was blue raspberry.
Raz.
Yeah. Total poverty candy though. Now and Laters and Jolly Ranchers are just you just put them in your mouth and then they're in your mouth for a couple of hours. Unless you're just completely chewing on them.
Oh, but Now and Later, if you chew that, you'd destroy your teeth.
Yeah,
anyway.
it would totally pull your teeth out for sure. Jolly Ranchers too. You can sort of chew on them, but
that would be... They're too hard.
Super hard, yeah. It's basically just a big hunk of solidified syrup. It's just a brick, an ice cube.
It's got that enough chewy stickiness to make you think, oh, this is not going to be that bad, but it makes it worse.
Yeah, your teeth would make contact with the surface of it, and it's like sticking your tongue on a frozen flagpole, or like a it would just peel. It would just pull you. I mean, I literally knew a kid who wasn't eating Now and Later or a Jolly Rancher, but eating a caramel when I was a kid, who just put it like threw it in his mouth and immediately back to his molars, and just like bit down on it and then pulled up, and it just pulled one of his molars right out. But obviously he might have had a loose molar.
There might have been a problem there.
Not fully healthy teeth. Which does bring us directly into talking about
politics.
No,
pre-existing conditions.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Exactly,
okay, never mind.
Right back
Sorry.
to healthcare.
We're back around.
No, let's not talk about healthcare. Let's talk about caramel M&Ms. Those are pretty good.
Yeah,
we have a bunch of strange candies going on. I mean, American candies, first of all, are
ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, each country has their weird candies. I mean, if you look at like Sweden or that whole section of the world, they have like salted licorice and stuff like that. Salmiak, I think is what it's called.
I'm not a licorice person to start with, so I don't know if making it salty would get me. And okay, let me say that it's the black licorice. Apparently, I'm a licorice racist.
Black licorice is the only licorice, man.
It's really licorice, I know, because then red is really just a red vine, and I understand that.
Red rope or red vine, right?
Yeah.
It's in the same format, I guess.
It's the same family.
Right. People are, I like red licorice.
That's like, well, that's not.
You don't like licorice
I don't
at
like
all.
licorice. I really don't.
Which is fine. I mean, it's not for everybody.
Yeah. Someone gave me. I'm like. I remember the first time trying it as a kid, just being like, "Oh yeah,
yeah."
like, I mean, that's definitely that seems an acquired taste to me.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, you have to kind of like bitter things first of all. Like some people just don't like bitter stuff.
Yeah.
So it is a strange flavor. Like, I mean, you think of like salty, sweet, hot things, sour things, and then you're just like bitter.
Bitter's just
things that taste like they aren't food, basically.
Right. It's like that's the taste that nature uses to put in things.
Tell you this isn't
that you're not supposed to eat that.
Right. Yeah. But we're like, hell no, man.
Make things bitter.
That's like a challenge. Give me those things that taste like dirt and roots and stuff.
Oh, God.
Yum.
Ooh.
Yes, but earlier we were talking about those cups, and I didn't figure out what those cups were called. The variety pack.
The variety bar. Yeah,
we were talking about this. It's like a pack of cups, kind of like Reese's peanut butter cups, but each cup was filled with a different filling.
But actually, but what I remember, it was a bar that was connected.
Oh, yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about with that, too. Okay.
They were, and each of the little, like, you imagine when you look at, say, like a caramel or something,
exactly,
where it's like cubes,
I was gonna say caramel.
but instead of just caramel, that was like 4 different flavors
I want to say
in
that
one
was
bar.
The same company, too.
Probably.
Maybe it was just a bar, and it was really one of them was full of marshmallow.
Probably.
And it made me think
of Mallow Cups.
Yeah. Because it was like the same filling. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's a bar where each segment of the bar was like one of them's caramel, one of them's marshmallow,
like peanut butter, maybe.
Right?
Whatever.
Exactly. But I don't remember exactly what the varieties
I just have this
were.
vague memory of there being a Krauser's by my house and going, what the hell? I can get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, the variety pack, man. Yeah, every now and again, there would be like candies that I don't remember the name of, but it's like another candy, like you know what Chuckles are, right?
Oh yes.
It's just you get a package and they're just laid down in a row in like a bar fashion, but they're separate.
They're like tiles.
Yeah, they're like little jellies, but they're like these little bundle of jelly kind of things. But there's another one that's just very similar in packaging and the same. It's like the same array of flavors. It's a green one, a red one, a yellow one.
Your usuals.
Maybe there's, I think one of them in this, but I don't think they're in Chuckles, was pink, and it's like a pink grapefruit flavor. But they're like Chuckles, but they're flat discs that are covered with, they're like sanded. With like a sugar. But they don't have the same exact consistency as Chuckles, because Chuckles are more like a gumdroppy.
Yeah,
like
more chewy.
Sticky, pulley, chewy kind of thing. Not really like a gummy bear thing. And these aren't like gummy bear either. They're somewhere in between. But they're like a disc. And I can find them individual flavor. You can buy like little baskets of these discs. Right. Like I think Sunkissed or something makes
that them. Sounds right. But I have this vague memory of them not being discs. I remember something just being the half circles. So it would look like sliced fruits.
Okay. Maybe Chuckles was like sliced fruits at one point.
Could be.
Now they're just like some kind of nondescript shape.
It's like here's a gummy tile, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
it
square.
Looks like some kind of weird thatched tile, like really strange. Like who's like, yeah, well that's perfect design.
That's what I want right there.
Make it look like a tile.
We're going to get a new audience in on this.
Yeah, right. It's the snack audience. I can't think of any other really weird candies from when I was a kid, except for candies that just came and went. Like, you ever just go into your local convenience store and they just had like the introductory price candies where they're just in a barrel and they're like 25 cents.
I have a vague memory of it, yeah. Just
every now and again. Like when I lived in Chicago, one that I remembered was I want to say it was like Carlos V. It's supposed to be like Carlos V or something.
Okay.
And it was the idea was like Nestle was making a chocolate bar to appeal directly to the Hispanic community, and it was like chocolate that tastes more like Mexican chocolate. Like it's got maybe a tiny bit of spice in it.
Right.
And instead of using like refined sugars, they were using like something else. It tastes like kind of like the Mexican Coke kind of thing.
I don't remember Carlos V.
Yeah, I think it was just a regional thing they might have just tried out in Chicago and maybe out in the Northwest or something like that, depending on the market. I mean, maybe you could have found them in Miami around the same time, but
possible.
One of those random things. But I remember when they this wasn't a candy, but this was a soda. Crystal Tab was something they tried out in the mid to late 90s.
Vague memory of that.
And just nobody fucking wanted it.
Well, no one wanted
like a soda. Nobody asked for.
No one wanted Tab.
Right. Well, they figured, hey, this Crystal Pepsi thing was so popular.
So
why don't we try this Crystal Tab thing? And it's a damn shame that Crystal Tab didn't come back on the tails of Crystal Pepsi
coming back
last year, right? But for anybody who doesn't know, Tab was Coca-Cola. Before there was Diet Coke, they marketed a diet beverage that was supposed to be vaguely approximate to Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
But it was mainly marketed towards women because, of course, women are diet conscious. This was the 60s.
And it was a pink can. Well, not just 60s, because I very specifically remember when I was a kid, I lived in a two family house.
Oh yeah, it continued on. Yeah.
And it was a pink can.
Yes.
I remember that. Mm-hmm. And my aunt and uncle lived upstairs from me. And my aunt, that's all she drank. She had Tab in the house.
Yeah, pink can with a white logo. Mm-hmm. It was just like off, like
very
an
stylized
angle, like
Tab. Yeah.
Yeah, like really kind of a cool looking can. A soda that looks better than it tastes by far, right? And then even after, it's super bitter tasting. Mm-hmm. It's like, what if, the red sugar packets, the little sweetener packets,
Sweet and Lows, yeah.
It's a Sweet and Low flavored soda,
pretty much.
Essentially.
It didn't have much flavor to it.
No, just bitterness.
Mm-hmm. That's like before diet sodas were a thing.
But then Coke goes, and they continue on, and they perfect the Diet Coke, to a certain degree. And then they just continue to market Tab for a while anyway. Like for another 10 years even.
Yeah.
They just keep making Tab. And
I think you can still buy Tab.
It's come back. At one point, when they started marketing soda in those 100-calorie cans, like the skinny, little guys, almost energy beverage, smaller energy beverage style cans. Yeah, I think Tab came back around then. And at one point, there was a Tab energy beverage too. I want to say.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
That's awkward.
Mm-hmm. I remember years ago, I think 2005, when I was in New Hampshire for, I think, my uncle's funeral, soda that I like, Moxie, which, again, is a very, particular tasting soda that a lot of people don't like. It tastes like roots. A lot of people say it tastes like medicine. They tried a few different things where there was a Moxie energy beverage, but I tried it. It didn't taste anything like Moxie. It was just generic energy beverage flavor.
Yeah, that kind of
with the branding
metallic.
Yeah. Just sweet, super sweet, nasty. Yeah. But so that's enough nattering on about stuff you shove in your food hole.
Sodas that don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Okay Soda, for example. You remember that one?
No.
I guess that's not enough nattering on about that.
We right back in. You turn.
They made it was like a Coca-Cola beverage that they tried to market towards the Gen X crowd.
Okay.
It got advertising on MTV, and they had a lot of popular cartoonists, like counterculture cartoonists, like Daniel Clowes and people like that would do different designs for the cans. It was a gray can with a white logo, and it just said "Okay," and it was called the Uncola. So it was like it was this kind of like disaffected, we don't care if you like us kind of.
So does that mean the next one they're gonna come out is just gonna be called Meh?
Yeah, I guess you can drink this. Is their slogan?
The black can with Meh just typed on it.
Yeah, it's okay. You can drink it. But the weird thing was they had a phone number, so you could call them up and hear all these like weird marketing sketches, kind of.
Oh,
it was really bizarre. It got like a lot of MTV, Alternative Nation, 120 minutes advertising. It was totally down that.
Those people.
Yeah, total targeted marketing. But people still kind of liked it. It was okay. It was kind of like a cross between like Coke and Barks root beer. It was kind of like a cola root beer mix. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either.
Pretty much a vanilla cola.
Maybe. I don't know. It was a little more substantial. It didn't taste as light as vanilla colas do.
Right.
A little more root beery, I guess, but I don't know. Anyway. So let me start with MST3K.
So you've seen how many episodes?
I think I only have 2 more episodes to watch,
okay.
if I'm not mistaken. And I thought I was pacing myself. Because, like, our friend Johnny was like, you watch MST3K yet? And I was like, yep. And he's like, yeah, I finished them all. I'm like, why? Why do that?
Why would you?
Take your time, man. Watch them every now and again. And I do. I'll watch, like, I'll watch 2 episodes in a row. I'm going to take, like, 4 or 5 days off. But... yeah, they came out back on April 14th.
Yeah, mid-April.
So
it was like whatever Friday was of the date.
Right.
Yeah.
But I like it so far. And the funny thing is, when we've talked
about this because you were not as excited because of some of the people who were involved.
Well, not necessarily. Yeah, both that some of the people who were involved and at that time not involving certain people.
Okay.
Like I was like more people from the show should be involved, and I didn't really know if I cared for the idea of. Carrying on with certain, like the robot characters being present in the show if they weren't going to be the same people, which is actually, I mean, really a silly thing because every robot on the show has been performed by at least 2 people.
Right.
So I'm not really sure why I was worried about that, but
so you've seen 8 of the 10.
No, they're 14.
14, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm programmed that Netflix series are 10 episodes.
Right, exactly.
Because we're in the middle of another thing, which I'll bring up later, but I know it's like, oh, we're at the end of another season of something?
Right.
Oh, well, crap.
Yep.
So I've only seen the one, which I watched yesterday, because I'm like, oh, crap, we're going to talk about this. I need to watch
I
one.
forgot what the first episode was.
Reptilicus.
Oh, right.
Which actually was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's weird for me because I do listen to Jonah in his in the Nerdist podcast. So hearing him as that character,
right?
Because again, I'm sure it's the same thing. You have that childhood of Joel and Mike. It's like, okay, well, those are the people, and like even for me, Mike was tough because it was all about Joel,
right?
So now having another person there, and then the thing that threw me off, I got used to that quickly, but was when you're in the theater and I'm not used to the new. I mean, it's granted now because I'm only 1 episode in. I don't differentiate between the robot voices yet.
Okay.
Whereas the Servo and Crow that I'm accustomed to had very distinct voices. I can't think of Crow. He played Forrester as well, the original Mad.
Yeah.
Trace
Beaulieu.
Okay, I was gonna say Brolo, but I'm like way off on that. So I mean, he has a very distinct nasal voice.
Yes.
And Servo was very melodic, kind of like hushed tones almost. And like these 2 guys are closer. So I just found myself. I mean, I'm not watching what they're doing, which apparently you have to do more.
There's a little more.
There's a little more going on in the theater.
Did some sight gags.
Yeah,
Series,
which I mean, which now that Servo actually
Gypsy in a lot more
often, which that threw me off.
Right.
The first time also I'm sitting there going, what the hell fell? I thought something fell off of.
Oh yeah.
When she came in on the top of the screen, I'm like, what fell off? And there's nothing on top of my TV. What fell? I'm like, oh my god, that's Gypsy. Okay. And then you can understand Gypsy now.
Yeah, right.
That was.
I mean, obviously that's not exactly what.
But like, that's pretty much what it was. It was like a female version of the Swedish Chef.
Right. Yeah.
And like, first thing they say is like, I've upgraded her vocal patterns or whatever. I'm like, okay. And she's
same
like,
thing they did with Crow.
Right. So I'm like, okay, then I guess that's all right. It's cool that they have
different.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that the whole idea that now she's suspended. That's kind of cool. noticing the differences in Crow actually can grab things and like
his hands are more.
He's more articulated. Stuff, yeah. I was laughing really hard when we ended up with 5 servos on screen already. When he was cloning him.
Oh, and then the funny thing about that scene is that the Crow that we have now is not the Crow that was in the classic series, because all the other Crows get sent away, and the one that's left is like, I'm not the original Crow. And Jonah's like, don't worry about it. And they just keep moving. It's like, wait, original Crow is gone. They're destroying him now. It's like, whatever, man. They're a bunch of puppets.
And then they turn it around to, they do that with him. I'm not the original servo. That's okay.
Don't worry about it.
It's like, you're cloning a robot. Wait, you can't clone a robot. And this tub that's definitely off to the side. It's off the camera.
I forget what... I don't want to say it because I don't want to spoil a moment for you, but there was a reference to a certain more recent Star Wars droid in one of these episodes.
Was it to a BB-8?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
No, okay, you'll see it when you get to it.
I will admit that towards the end, just because it was a long day, I dozed off a little bit in the middle of it, so I might have missed something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and we were talking about this, how like it's interesting having, because some of the ones I used to watch on Comedy Central when it was on were still dated at the time that was back then in the 90s.
Right.
So now hearing absolute current references is kind of cool.
Right.
And it was like, oh, that was funny. That's a good line. Mm-hmm. I was worried for a second because towards the beginning of Reptilicus, they made they riffed a little bit, and then there was a moment where they were like silent for like almost a minute. I'm like, are they like chinsing out here? And then instead from then on, it was almost like nonstop. So that was kind of cool, and it was the same style. Mm-hmm. I guess Joel being there helps, and some other people on it, and just because everyone who is working on it was a fan of it.
Yeah.
So just like the complete non sequiturs that were coming out of places, and the hard right turns, they would make a joke on something, and the next joke was like, where the hell did that even come from?
Yeah. I totally agree with you though on their sounding, even not just the 2 robots, all 3 of them sound a lot closer. I think initially, well, from what I've heard is that, okay, so the guy who does the voice of Crow.
Is that Yount, or is that?
Yes, Hampton Yount. Apparently, initially when he was, when they were kind of either practicing or maybe they filmed stuff, I don't know. But initially he was doing almost like a spot-on, like really very excellent Crow impersonation, like
of the Trace.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I think that, he was trying to on purpose, and they were like, maybe just try to do this as yourself.
I have this vague memory of hearing something about like we started out trying to do homages to the old voices, and we're like, no, just do the voice, do your voice.
That fits you, it's really weird because for some reason I had convinced myself that Baron Vaughn was going to be doing the voice of Crow, and then having all the voices sound very similar, I think, confused that for me even more. And I think it was just initially I thought that because of what I'd known of Baron Vaughn, of a stand-up, and having seen him in a few roles in a few movies, just his delivery and his style and his he's almost nihilistic sometimes, and I thought that was much more Crowish.
Right.
But maybe they did that on purpose. Maybe they didn't want it to go too far, because sometimes in Baron's stand-up, he's been accused of coming across less as a stand-up comic and more of an actor playing a stand-up comic. Okay. And sometimes it gets a little too weird for some people, but so far I've really liked it. But there is that initial problem of just kind of like, these voices sound the same. Yeah. They're a lot closer than in the classic series. Because because Servo is like a very round and very like jubilant voice sometimes, unless he's being like really snarky. And then like Crow is like, yes, very nasally, very angular. He's like verbally attacking the movie when he's talking about it, kind of thing.
And then whoever whether it's Mike or Joel, usually fell somewhere in the middle. But Joel was almost like the tired sounding. Yeah.
Well, exactly, and they sound kind of bewildered by what's going on, which makes sense given who they are and what their situation is. But and then there have been a lot, actually, more cameos in the new series than I expected initially.
Now, okay, because obviously you said the obvious one. I mean, Will Wheaton started off the first episode.
Well, I don't remember Will Wheaton.
Will was like before before Jonah was brought in, like they're like, oh, he's coming back. He's working on his rhythmic whatever. He was playing the drums.
Okay.
And he was hauling the meteorites or whatever before he was drawn into Moon 13. Is that what it is?
Moon 13? No, yeah. Deep 13. We're on the moon. Moon 13, the moon.
And he was and he was like pretty much playing a character like what he did in Star Trek: The Next Generation. He was sitting at a console with a headpiece on, like going, yeah, but whatever. And his stupid comb over that he's doing now. But he's there, and I don't remember the woman who he was talking to, who was in their base, was familiar from something for me.
Some other kind of Nerdist.
And I'm like, there's two. I don't know if it was Nerdist or. I mean, well, granted, okay, I was gonna say At Midnight, but At Midnight is, obviously a derivative to Nervous, yeah. But I'm like, those are both very familiar. I might have been
just looking away from the screen at that moment.
And I know that the credits said that Joel was in the first.
Joel is in every episode.
See, was Joel one of the Skull band?
No, Joel is. We got movie. He's the guy in the. He's in a contamination suit and he pulls. Oh,
he's the one who's like, we've got movie in the hole.
Yeah, movie in the hole. That's him. He's in every episode.
That's all he does.
Yep.
That's funny.
I mean, some episodes he has more lines than that.
Right.
The first episode I heard it, I was just like, yeah, I'm just hearing things. Like, could anybody? You just that delivery of that line just sounds like him. Okay, fine. And then just every episode kept going on, and I'm like. Is Joel in every episode? Is that like this thing they're hiding him in there?
Well, that's.
I mean, he's not really hidden,
right?
But it's just something to like remind people, like we're still in the. This is still canon MST3K universe. This isn't.
And I was just, as much as I liked they kept saying that oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. Frank's son.
TV's son of TV's Frank.
Right. Well, I mean, that name I remember.
Patton Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt. That's right. I think Patton Oswalt.
Okay.
Where it was, I thought was perfectly silly that he's TV's son of TV's Frank, and she's just like, that's not. You're Max. Go get
Max. Right.
It's like, can you just give me this?
Right.
I'm like, okay, so they're giving that.
What threw me off, and I know that you didn't really watch so much of the really late MST3K stuff, where it was Mike. This was after Dr. Forrester was out of the show. Because his mom, at a certain point, Dr. Forrester's mom, Pearl, shows up. Right. And she's just living with him kind of thing. But then he becomes a space baby, a la 2001. And Pearl Forrester takes over as the Mad. And then they go on like these weird adventures where Mike and the bots are kind of floating through space, and Dr. Forrester and her two sidekicks are following them in a van that flies in space. And so her sidekicks are a guy called Brain Guy, who is the voice of Tom Servo.
Right.
And I forget his name. He's like a monkey character. He's like this character.
That's Dr. Bobo.
Dr. Bobo, exactly.
The only reason I know that is because you brought the name up.
Right. Is like a Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
and that's the voice of. Oh no, I've got them reversed. But anyway, they're voices of the bots, but they also have like character roles in the show now.
Now, in the stills, in the thumbnails for the new series, there is a picture of ape characters. So does that mean he comes back as the character?
There's a cameo. Yeah.
Okay, so
they pop in a couple times.
And who's the character who looks pretty much like Death?
That's Brain Guy.
That's Brain Guy.
Yeah,
okay,
he's a guy who he's from a race of people who are so. Mentally advanced that they take their brains out of their heads and keep them in jars. But they don't keep them in jars, they keep them in bowls, floating in a little bath of liquid. They're super smart.
Okay.
Clearly.
My brain bowl.
So, what threw me off initially is that in every episode, in the intro to the episode, and a few times in the skits that are filmed specifically for the episodes, there's a character who looks very much like Pearl Forrester. And I was like, why is there a character who looks like Pearl Forrester, who is an assistant to, the new Dr. Forrester and Max? And it's just because she's a clone of her grandmother. And I'm like, wait, why?
Why
is they're just like, hey, we know somebody who looks a lot like Pearl Forrester, so why don't we just cast her in the show for no reason? Like, unless there's some reason for her being there later on down the road.
Well, considering that show, there doesn't have to be a reason.
No,
for sure.
There really doesn't. But I mean, I like the show a lot. The only thing that kind of bummed me about it was not really bummed me about it, but it's, I really don't care for in the classic series, or even in general. I like Godzilla and stuff like that, but most giant monster movies, like old ones, I really don't care about. Like, I don't like any of the classic series episodes that are about, like Baragon, Gamera, all those ones. Gamera's the turtle, yeah.
Gamera's the turtle.
Right.
Gamera, which is actually my favorite, Gamera and Pod People, which are like my two favorite episodes.
Something about it, and like
I get it.
I even watch this thing called Svengoolie every week, which is like this, well, not every week, but is this horror host thing that very much along the lines of Elvira. And like last month, every week it was a Godzilla movie, and I'm just like, like I can't even bring myself to be excited about it. But I mean, there are some episodes later on in the series that are just much more my style of MST3K, like Cry Wilderness, I think is the name of this movie, is going to come up later on in the season, and you'll see it. It's good. It's like Troll 2 good.
It stinks.
Exactly. It stinks. For me, it's the most classic episode because it's literally like they sat down and said, what one movie did you guys not riff in the classic series that just watching it outside of the show, you're just like, why wasn't this an episode of MST3K?
Right. And
they had to be like, Cry Wilderness. Like, this movie just looks and feels 100% like an MST3K. Like, an episode of MST3K should just naturally occur around this movie for being what it is.
Right.
Like, it's just ready.
It was asking for it.
Yeah, exactly. Before MST3K existed, they filmed this movie, and they were just like, voices in the distance, they were
making fun of
what's going on? Like, I keep hearing these weird jabs and snipes at our movie. What's going on here? So it's been pretty good. I mean, obviously you have a lot more to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna, I'll make my way through it for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Just hadn't had the time.
I just wonder. I haven't heard anything about, because I don't really follow anybody related to the show other than classic guys. On social media to hear about, like, we're filming season 2 or anything like that. But I would hope that they're making more.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I know, like, considering the type of fan base that show has, I think they're probably going to give it a little bit, see what kind of it gets. But if it seems to, at least for me, like, in one episode in, it started off pretty well. And, if you're that far in and you're, like, still, you're grooving on it, then, I hope so. I hope that maybe some new people are finding it, going, this is something cool, and it will come, stick around.
Yeah.
But I'm just enjoying it. I'm enjoying the fact that it's here right now.
Now, it coming out or being around now is kind of a mixed bag for me, though, because I have something I do, like if I'm just laying down or messing around on the computer or something like that, I'll throw on my TV this MST3K 24/7 feed that I have available to me. And unfortunately, because the show is running right now, and Netflix has lawyers and stuff like that, they've had to shut down the feed, or not necessarily shut the feed down, but geo-lock it, so that if you're inside the US, you can't browse this for the time being. So that's been unfortunate. But on the plus side, for like the last 2 or 3 months leading up to this, there's been more interest in MST3K and riffing and stuff like that, to the point where if you have Amazon Prime, there is a ton of riff track stuff that you can get right now. And especially if somebody's watching the new MST3K and they're just like, this doesn't really, I don't know. Like, they haven't watched MST3K since like 1999 or 98 or whatever. And they're like, I don't know, this new stuff's And if they never really got into riff tracks, because admittedly, riff tracks is kind of a pain in the ass. Like, if you go to their website and you download their product, you have to sync the movie up to the soundtrack. And they do have a player that you can download that lets you sync it directly. So when you hit pause, it stops everything.
Right.
But, that doesn't necessarily work for everybody, because you might have the DVD and you want to watch it on television. Yeah. And, it's more complicated than it needs to be, really.
And what's the other product that's out
there? There were a couple, but the other one, the main one people think about is Cinematic Titanic.
Right.
Yeah. There was also a thing briefly called the Movie Club that Mike and the last two guys that were on the show. Sorry, I can't. Kevin Murphy and the other guy. Sorry,
the other guy.
Sorry, other guy. Your name isn't as memorable.
Joe Smith.
Yeah, exactly. So they did a thing called the Movie Club on Rhino Home Video, where they would just get cheap movies and do the exact same thing. But it was just about these 3 guys that just worked in a movie warehouse, and the guy who owned it was crazy, and he would pay them to record commentaries for his favorite films. Which was unfortunate. I think it only ran for like 3 movies, because these were just home video releases. And then Rhino started doing the releases of MST3K, and Best Brains lawyers were like, no.
We gotta stop this.
Yeah, they put the kibosh on that. But then, I think you can actually now get all of Cinematic Titanic in like one box set now. And some of them are really good. Some of them are, if not as good, sometimes better than MST3K, because you have a wider array of people riffing on them. You have J. Elvis Weinstein is back, and he's older, so his riffing, honestly, I think his riffing is way better now than it was when he was like 18 when he was on the show. He has a wider range of cultural references to pull from, and he's a little more world-weary, so he's, full of... He's tired of the world's bullshit, probably, at this point in his life. Not really, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's a little more jaded, so he's a little more in position to mock things.
Yes.
And you get more Mary Jo Pell, who is Pearl Forrester. She's in there, so... And they're all together, so it's, it's like 6, sometimes 7 people riffing the movie simultaneously, so it's really
now,
nice.
Was that more... Because I've never really watched any of these other products. Clearly, MST is scripted. Okay, I mean, they do their writing, they do their things, and no one steps on each other.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain that they do the same thing for this.
I was just wondering how, do you come across times where there are, 2 people jump for a joke?
Not often, unless they're just fucking around.
Yeah.
And, it becomes a thing where they start, ribbing each other in front. Because some of them are filmed in front of a live audience.
I remember.
Which is entertaining. And then some of them are just recorded in the studio. And in the studio, they have a story, not really a storyline, but it's a company has hired these people to riff this movie, and there are robots and stuff. But there aren't bots, but it's
different thing.
Yeah, it's all in silhouette, and they walk onto the screen. And usually on the home video were the ones that they filmed, not filmed in front of an audience, but they pre-taped, so to speak. They have silhouettes on the left and right of the screen, which is kind of neat, because for the most part your movies that you're riffing are going to be 4:3 aspect ratio.
Pan-scan.
You're watching them on full screen, widescreen, so you've got this area to the left and right, which has been kind of weird with the new series, because it's in widescreen, so you get extra chairs on the left and the right.
That's a large theater you're in.
Yeah, this is nice. But Cinematic Titanic is pretty nice. And then, like I'm saying about riff tracks, it's nice that and riff tracks, the other thing about that is that they don't just riff really bad old movies.
Right, because you can look up I've seen
Iron Man, for example.
Exactly.
Or
more known things, but because they're not actually releasing their own, if they're not,
it's just the audio.
It's their audio.
They can do anything they want.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't need any rights or anything. So, but the ones that they primarily release for that have been bought and are streaming on Amazon are old, terrible movies. Because these are the ones that they've been able to get the rights for, so that they can release them on home video, so that they can be streamable and that type of thing. So it's much more convenient. The only thing that, I guess a classic MST3K fan wouldn't appreciate would be that there aren't any skits. They don't have any, there's no invention exchange, there's no we've got movie, any of that stuff. So it's just literally guys in a theater, not even in a theater, because there's no silhouette. Right. Just them talking over a movie. It's much more of a commentary track. But they're good too. They're pretty good, fun stuff. And they're free if you have Amazon Prime. So there are more and more all the time. I think there's something like 24 of them now. So.
Those are the things I have to watch when I'm not around, when Elisa's not around, because I've tried to show her at times the old MST3Ks. Yeah. And she's like,
they're not for everyone. Yeah. Some people are just like, this is really stupid. Yeah. And you're like, that's it. You get it.
Yeah, well, and there's the problem. I definitely can watch a stupid movie and laugh, whereas she'll sit there and be like, I'm wasting my time.
So I'm just going to sit here and watch these guys watch this movie.
Pretty much.
Like, what, really? Is that how this works?
I think I tried to show her Gamera. Like, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I probably tried to show her Pod People. And those are the two that I immediately will always go, I'm doing work around the house, I'm gonna throw Pod People on the background. So I always laugh at the certain lines when I'm washing dishes or something.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping there's more. This makes me realize or think about all the little failed projects all along the way, or little other times when it's been announced that, hey, MST3K is coming back, or the people from MST3K are back doing their thing again. And it's
not really
footage from it's Animal Planet, them riffing Animal Planet.
Yeah, I remember that. What's going on here?
Everybody was like, hey, they're back, and then they're like, yeah, they're gonna be doing this. I'm like, why would you be excited?
They're mocking a monkey.
Yeah, they're just making fun of. That's not. No. Why would you do that? They already did that during the Overdrawn at the Memory Bank episode where fucking Fingal. You remember that episode?
I don't. I mean, I probably did, but I have vague memories of them doing the how-to videos and self-help videos.
Oh yeah.
So I probably what you say is familiar, but I'm not remembering specifically.
Oh no, Overdrawn at the Memory Bank was a classic MST3K episode where they were riffing this movie called Overdrawn at the Memory Bank, which was made by PBS in New York, and it was this movie starring Raul Julia as this guy named Aaron Fingal, I think. If I remember, I know his last name was definitely Fingal. But it's this futuristic story about this guy who he works in some kind of data mining job where you just sit in front of a computer and pull up numbers all day and crunch numbers and whatnot. But he had somehow found a way to hack into the database and just watch old movies all the time instead. So he's watching Casablanca and stuff like that. But he gets in trouble, and then they end up you do some kind of rehabilitation where they put you well, it's supposed to be some kind of vacation rehabilitation thing, but it's definitely intended to put you back on the right track. And one of the things they make you do is you have to basically have your consciousness put into some kind of simulation of an animal's life, but the only thing he can afford is a monkey. So he ends up at one point being this monkey, and they just have footage of a monkey in the movie, and it's just him oh, now I'm a monkey. Oh, look at me. Oh no, there's a jackal. Stupid stuff like that. And he's just no. He's picking up fermented fruit and drinking it. He's oh, I feel funny now. And it's just what the hell's going on in this movie? But it's a classic, terrible MST3K episode.
Yeah, one of these days, I've told you about the collection I have.
Yeah.
I mean, that book that was spindles of DVDs.
Right.
Gotta find them and go through some of those old things. I mean, it's supposedly everything.
Yeah.
That ever existed that was not available commercially. So I mean, could watch that first one from Minnesota.
The KTMA days.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yep. Sometimes they didn't even have rights for those movies. So, they will never get released on home video. Unless, somehow they do. But, yeah, no, they were definitely not even getting rights clearances.
Yeah, we're gonna make fun of it.
Yep. They, oh, yeah. But, I mean, the thing is, through various streaming services that I have available to me, I could literally pull up any episode. I can find a torrent that's just every MST3K episode.
Yeah.
But it's just the difficulty of just picking an episode. That's why I love that stream. I would just throw it on and be oh, hey, look.
There's something.
Yep. Don't have to think about it. The only time it would get really frustrating is if I just turn it on and 4 days later you turn it on and it's literally the same exact episode, at pretty much the same point. It's really, again? This same episode?
Saw this.
Yeah, come on, man. I can only see Rondo Hatton so many times in that one. I can't remember the name of that episode, but it seemed for a couple weeks it was just this one episode every time I pulled it up. But whatever, it was free. What am I gonna do?
Right,
can't sue him.
Could, won't win.
Yeah, nope. So yeah, MST3K, good stuff.
And then talking about good movies.
Good movies. What about them?
No, we both saw one.
Did I?
Did you?
I know you saw it. I didn't like it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah, man. I'm assuming you saw the same trailers that I saw too.
Yeah, there's a lot of trailers on that movie.
Yeah, Thor Ragnarok,
which
Spider-Man Homecoming.
It's so funny when they make Thor out to be a little more comedic. He's like, hey, I know him we're friends from work.
Apparently he doesn't remember you.
Yeah, it's like, hey, he's beating the shit out of you, dude.
Yeah, Hulk gonna fuck you up, man.
Yeah.
That reminds. Sorry, a little sidebar there about the Incredible Hulk. Okay, so the Incredible Hulk airs every week, every Saturday on MeTV. The classic Bill Bixby series. And there was an episode recently that was, every week basically on the Incredible Hulk he's come into town because he's just a wanderer, and he's living with somebody, and he's got some job, and some person he knows has a problem.
He gets mad.
He helps them sort it out. For the most part, that's usually just what happens in every episode. And this guy who works for some radio or some newspaper is following him around, asking questions most of the time. But this episode was like, they took the Incredible Hulk, which is already sort of a pastiche, including Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's science that reveals some other side of your personality. So they already have that going. And I feel like the person who wrote this episode forgot that that's already a Jekyll and Hyde pastiche, and they added another layer of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because the episode is about David is living with this family whose dad goes away for months at a time at his job. I don't know if he's actually a sailor or something like that, and so he's living with them to help pay bills and stuff like that, but he's also working on some experimental serum. That's his plan will completely suppress his savage side. He's trying to eliminate the Hulk. That's basically it's what he's always trying to do anyway, when he has time to do that. But he's living with this family, and they have this daughter who's 17, almost becoming 18, and she's becoming a woman. And unfortunately, the serum has the opposite effect of what was intended, and it turns him into this madman. But he doesn't become the Incredible Hulk. He just becomes like the evilest version of Dr. David Banner possible. So it's like he becomes this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde character. And then on top of that,
too much.
when he becomes this person, he can become the Hulk too, and he just becomes an angrier version of the Hulk. But I was sort of disappointed because he just looks like the regular Hulk. He doesn't have like big wispy weird eyebrows or anything. Or have like fangs goatee or a different color or anything. It's just the Hulk. The episode synopsis was like, when Dr. Banner takes this serum, he becomes a savage version of himself, and I'm like,
isn't that the Hulk?
That's already the Hulk. You just made the Hulk. What is wrong with you? Jeez. Sorry. That's okay. Just reminded me thinking about the Hulk. And I'm like, wait, why would you add this extra layer to the Hulk that's already there? Nonsense. But yeah, so the Thor Ragnarok trailer. Yeah.
Star Wars trailer.
Oh yeah, the Star Wars trailer too, yeah.
Which I had seen previously.
Yeah. And you saw these in 3D.
Yes.
I don't remember because I know the Star Wars trailer was definitely in 3D. I don't remember the Hulk trailer or the Thor trailer?
All the trailers where we saw it were 3D.
Okay.
And they didn't tell you to put the 3D glasses on, so we're like watching guess we gotta put them on.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, get a bunch of jackets.
Usually they tell you before the whole trailer starts running.
Yes.
Yeah, no?
But, well,
we get there after?
No, we were there very early.
Okay.
I feel like, you went to the Hollywood
20, right?
We go to, what used to be a Carmike.
Oh, okay.
And they are in the process of switching over to an AMC. So there's no signs outside anymore that say either Carmike or AMC, but the sort of Carmike label, the logo, which is like a piece of film in the shape of a C, is still there.
Okay.
You go inside, there's nothing that says AMC or Carmike anymore.
All right.
But the branding is sort of AMC because you can use your Stubbs card.
Weird.
And all the pre-movie videos are AMC.
Huh.
But then we've got our Carmike annual popcorn bucket, which they're still giving us. It's like they're in between these two things, and they built a bar into the place, which is branded, supposed to be called MacGuffins. It doesn't call that. I'm like, what the hell's going on in this place? So I feel like they're still sorting themselves out.
They have a bar in the theater called MacGuffins.
MacGuffins.
Oh, Jesus. Do they serve a beverage called the Red Herring?
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. I mean, I get it.
I'll have a side of Deus Ex Machina with that.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check their menu.
Oh no.
Oh boy. But yeah, so everything was Then they also showed, which was interesting. There was a trailer. Did you get the trailer for The Defenders for Netflix?
No.
Which I had not seen. I mean, I knew it was out there.
I don't think we did. No.
That's the series that is the 4-way crossover of Daredevil, Jessica Jones,
Iron Fist,
and Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Which it looks good. And
yeah.
I mean, I'm into all the series, so that's fine. Bring that on.
Sure.
There was the. Did you see the thing for the bodyguard thing?
No.
I forget. I think it was called.
Is it? I didn't see it during this screening, but is
Samuel
it a
L. Jackson and
oh no,
Ryan Reynolds.
Wait, is this Baby Driver?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Who's in this movie?
Oh my gosh, it is so a riff on the bodyguard, and it's they've got Whitney Houston going on in the background, and it's a bodyguard who is Ryan Reynolds plays a bodyguard who is protecting Samuel L. Jackson, who is like a hitman. I believe it's called the Hitman's Bodyguard, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And at least I just like we're watching going, what?
Ryan Reynolds is in this?
Well,
I was going to say, are
Ryan
you
Reynolds is, we're talking about Deadpool. Yes.
Really? Huh.
Absolutely.
I'm just looking it up on Netflix, or not Netflix, IMDb.
There's
just nothing there for him.
Which, maybe we had...
I mean, not nothing there
maybe
for
we had
him,
a fever dream or something. But,
that's really weird.
It is such a ridiculous riff, here we go, Hitman's Bodyguard.
Really? I got Sam Jackson in it?
Uh-huh.
That's really strange, because I'm looking at Sam Jackson's filmography as actor. Kong Skull Island is the most recent thing there.
This is the world's top bodyguard gets a new client, a hitman who must testify at the International Court of Justice.
Well, see, now I'm seeing a picture of it here.
Yeah.
I wonder if IMDb's changed recently and they don't show the, in currently, well, I don't know, they wouldn't still be filming this, would they?
Yeah.
Sometimes stuff that's just currently being filmed or in production.
According to this has not yet been screened. It's completed and is expected in August.
Strange.
But it was it's playing, the bodyguard music in the background, and they're cursing the hell out of each other, beating each other up. I'm like, is this supposed to be a joke?
Yeah, I would hope so.
So there was that.
Oh, there was a new... What was that? I can't remember the name of this movie, but it was this... It's like that teenage 007 thing. It's like Kingsman.
Yes, the Kingsman.
That
was another one. Okay, there's that.
Whatever.
But there was another movie that I can't... Because it was so nondescript. There was another movie. It's like, what even was that? I don't even remember. But there were so many...
We had another Alien Resurgence trailer, I think.
No, we didn't get that.
Yeah. That's different.
But yeah, so... That was... fun.
Yeah. Guardians was good though.
Yes. And in discussions it's funny, you always talk about is it gonna be as good? Mm-hmm. Is it worse? Is it as good or is it better?
A friend of mine on Facebook said that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is the Gremlins 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I completely disagree.
Well, but the funny thing was I was like, wait, but I don't know if you really love Gremlins 2. If you really like Gremlins 2, then I can get behind that.
So, yeah, you're using a reference that could be very polarizing in and of itself.
It's not very definitive. I don't really understand what it is that you're saying about this movie right now. The one thing I will say... Okay, so, I mean, like I said earlier when we were at lunch, 95% of this movie was fine by me. There were only a few things I didn't like, and they were... more or less throwaways. They were there was nothing problematic about the movie for me. Well, except for a little bit of something, but I didn't really need the Sylvester Stallone character. I felt like he was a little bit the whole Sylvester Stallone thing was a little shoehorned in there, but I think it's obviously because they're trying to build off another team,
the alternate Guardians,
the Ravagers,
which is supposed. I mean, if I had one of the articles I've read after I've seen the movie was that team is because Ving Rhames too. I mean, there was some big, so many bit actors. Right. That were bit parts in that, which are big actors.
Yeah, Miley Cyrus was the voice of that little computer.
Yeah,
right?
but the fact that they were actually the original Guardians of the Galaxy.
I'm sure they were.
Right, so that was the whole, so they're, I see how, but that's how the Marvel Universe works.
Right.
I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, they will use one movie to have, Sylvester Stallone was on camera on the screen for 7 minutes, maybe.
Tops.
At most, he was there for the funeral at the end. Mm-hmm. Oops.
The confrontation.
Right.
Well, funeral for who?
Right.
We don't know. There was
they
the confrontation.
Killed Star-Lord.
Oh my god, you won't believe it. Yeah, man.
They have the confrontation in the beginning, and then that scene at the end,
and then the little coda.
And the coda, right, when you actually saw.
Speaking of, we'll get back to coda.
Is one of those things you have a problem with?
No, I mean, it was not like a big problem, but seriously, what were there, like 4 or 5 fucking post?
And actually, one of them was not actually a post-credit scene. One was
mid-credits.
No. Well, there was a bunch of mid-credits.
Well, true.
Like, the movie ended, and then it went immediately to one of those scenes. It's like, which was Kraglin with the, trying to learn how to use the...
Oh, right.
The weapon.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there were a lot of those. There were a lot of things.
I'm not against.
And the thing was, we were in the theater, and the credits start rolling. So I pull up my phone to find, Google, is there a post, is there a mid or post-credit sequence in this movie? As the credits are rolling, this is just names going up the screen and music.
Yeah.
And the guy behind me starts bitching about me having my phone out. This his wife says something about, the brightness of my screen, and he says, yeah, well, I hope he plans on putting it back in his pocket soon. And I'm just like, bro, the fucking credits are rolling. It's not like I'm doing it in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, calm down a bit.
Yeah, it's like, cool it, bro. And the funny thing was, when I first came into the theater, he had his foot over the back of the seat in my row. It's like, yeah, so you have a whole lot of fucking respect for the theater to have your feet on the chairs to complain about me having my phone
at that
in my
point,
pocket.
the lights are actually up and people are walking out.
Yeah, this is the
who are stupid, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really begrudge people who don't feel like sitting, especially in a situation where you gotta wait around for 4 to 5 of these things.
Yeah, well,
I mean, some of them aren't really important.
We're at the point right now that no matter what movie we see,
yeah, exactly.
we do not leave until they start playing the ads again.
Right, yeah.
Because, something is going to be there. And it's very, very rare now that there's not.
Even movies that aren't, superhero movies.
Right, well, exactly.
If it's just an action film.
There was... Oh, I forget what it was. There was something we saw recently, because it started with that shawarma scene in the Avengers.
Yeah.
Really, it started with that. I mean, there were always...
I don't know.
There were some little ones here and there, but that was the one that really everyone's talked about, and then it became a thing.
Of the modern wave of them.
Yeah. There was something we saw recently where a group, they did that.
Yeah.
And I can't remember...
And it was just out of the blue. It wasn't even
it was I don't
or...
remember if it was the end of the TV...
Right.
Part of me wants to say it might have been the end of a... some TV episode we were watching or something,
some random comedy,
and I just remember looking over, going, "Are they eating shawarma?" She's like, "I think they are," and they're all sitting around, one sitting there, covering the beard, what's his face?
Tony Stark.
Yeah, no, what was the guy who played Captain America, Chris Evans.
Right, okay.
Because when they brought him back to record, that was a story that they actually put prosthetic face over a beard that he had grown for another role, and they were like, it's coming off, so he was just sitting there, kind of eating this, holding his face on,
having a hand beard.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever. So, but yeah,
right. Yeah, it's creeped into other things now, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, there was the one with Kraglin. Mm-hmm. There was teen groups.
Grumpy teenager group.
Which I don't have a problem with. I think
didn't
that's
have
funny.
a problem with it, but I think it would have been funnier if they had caught him growing his root.
Yes, yeah, I got you.
You know
saying.
what I mean? That would be the most obvious thing to put there.
I think they probably went to keep it not R.
Well, yeah, again, this is Disney now.
I mean, it still was PG-13, right?
Yeah,
so
there were some jokes in there.
They went for the obvious... Are you a professional asshole? Yeah, pretty much, bro.
Well, there was also the whole, I don't want to hear about my parents getting together.
Oh, yeah, it's my parents told me that
my
story.
father told me the story of inseminating my mother every Christmas, or every winter.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
See, here's where I will say, I mean, I am at the point where I feel it's at least as good as the first one.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I think... after re-watching the first one again, maybe I'll have a different feeling, but I think it might be better than the first one.
Yeah.
Mostly because
they didn't fuck up.
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't fuck it up. I mean,
you should get extra points for
there were a couple times where I felt, and it's okay because that's the nature of the character, so I got over it. Like, there were a couple jokes that I felt were low-hanging fruit.
I agree.
But I'm like, for a second, I'm like, I thought of that as they were saying it. I'm like, or whatever, that's fine with me.
Yeah, but it's like these characters aren't stand-up comedians. They don't. They're not supposed to be smarter or funnier than you. So just because you thought of it doesn't mean they wouldn't think of it. Or they. But
that's the thing. So
joke,
I mean,
right?
I didn't let it bother what I was getting out of it.
Right.
But there was definitely a few bits like, oh boy.
Well, I didn't necessarily. Well, I mean, low-hanging fruit is one thing, but there were like one or two jokes that were just a little repetitive. Like there's a scene where Groot uses profanity with somebody. Obviously, we don't hear it because all we hear is "I am Groot."
Yes.
And then
Rocket says something. We can talk about your language.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, but yeah, we already got that he swore.
Yeah.
Because you said he didn't use freaking or frickin' or whatever. So we already got that. That's But repeat the joke. Okay.
Baby Groot.
Yep. Baby Groot. I mean, I thought that was actually a really clever opening credit sequence.
The full big battle.
And he's just dancing away like
he's just being him.
Yeah.
Until the speakers get smashed and he gets pissed off.
Yep. I mean, sorry if you haven't seen the movie yet, but we're really not spoiling. There's way more to this movie than what we've explained.
Oh no, I mean,
given away. But
he was dead the entire time.
Yeah, right. It's your classic Jacob's Ladder, where the whole movie occurs during this other podcast called "How Did This Get Made?" Have you ever heard it?
No.
It's on the Earwolf Network, and it's 3 comedians. And they watch a movie, and then they talk about it later. And usually they're really bad movies. They'll be like The Lawnmower Man.
Okay.
Or one time they did Jacob's Ladder. And one of the hosts, Jason Mantzoukas, is obsessed with this idea of the Jacob's Ladder scenario where, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Jacob's Ladder, basically the whole movie happens in an instant between this person having an accident and dying. Like, everything is just this imagination that his mind has come up with in an instant, but he's lived it in, whatever, the actual screen time.
Kind of like the life flashing before your eyes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he has this thing now where, whenever a movie doesn't make sense, or there is any opening, like early in the movie, if something traumatic or some kind of injury happens to the character, he wonders if the whole thing is a Jacob's Ladder scenario. So that's what happens. This whole movie is Jacob's Ladder.
Gotcha.
What did you think about Kurt Russell?
I don't know.
Yeah?
I didn't know. I didn't know of the character. I mean, again, because I don't come into much knowing of the character. Was it a stretch from what it was in the comics?
I think it's a clever adaptation. See, I don't know how the character Ego the Living Planet actually relates to Star-Lord, or anything to do with the more the closer network or universe of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I know they all exist in the Marvel universe, but I don't know how much in the classic series they had to do with each other. But I mean, if you had to put Ego the Living Planet in a movie, you'd have to make him have some type of physical human, kind of humanoid, corporeal being, as opposed to being a big planet with a face on it.
Right.
Which is what I knew him as.
Which they gave us a little bit of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there was a nod to it, which was, I think, kind of almost, I mean, I don't know if it was intentionally, but it's almost a slam on Galactus and the Fantastic Four movie being a fucking cloud and not looking anything like Galactus at all. So, but yeah, I mean, if you had to make him a human, and maybe at some point he did do that in the comic books. I didn't really ever follow Guardians too closely. Like, I had a few comics here and there, and I knew of characters like, what's his face with the fin? Why is his name?
Yondu.
Yondu, right. But he looks a lot different.
Which I feel is interesting because the fin that he got in the movie was more closer to what his comic look was. Right, exactly. Because in the comic books, he just looks like blue Superman. Right. With a fin on his head. Cape and everything. Cape and spandex and all that shit. Yeah. So, I mean, these characters have been totally, I mean, that's just your standard. They're making it more realistic. Yeah, which is, I mean, I have no problems with. Not at all. Yeah, I have no problems with it. I thought it was interesting. I did read, though, that the scene that they did earlier on with Kurt Russell was largely not CG.
Which one?
With him as the young...
Oh, yeah? Really?
With him driving in the car with...
The mom.
Meredith.
Yeah,
the
I
mom.
forget the character's
the
name,
mom.
but yeah.
That was like 90% makeup.
Huh, okay.
And they probably had to do a little CG.
I mean, either way, they did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, that was... And I was looking at it going, this is actually really good CG. I was completely expecting the whole situation.
Tron.
Right. And now, I mean, more recently, Rogue One, where you completely recreated Grand Moff Tarkin and Leia. Yeah. I thought it was going to be the same thing. I'm like, this is actually, they've done better. Yeah, no. Well, apparently it was just very, very clever and well done.
That's the best use of CGI, though. You can't get... I mean, you can, but it's I think, better if you get there part of the way with practical and then cover it up with CG. Because, just looking at him, I could tell it wasn't all CG because... Or if it was, they were being... they were being conservative with it because, like, the shape of his face is more square, like it is now, compared to his, he had a more slender face. It's like it's not like we don't know what he looked like when he was younger. You could make him look just like Snake Plissken if you wanted to. Right. But it would look kind of weird. I mean, it wouldn't look super weird. We've seen worse stuff, but it's like, his face was a little bit wider, more wide, like it is now at his age, as it should be.
As nature does.
As you do. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to say exactly what I want to say, for fear of spoiling things, but...
For all two of our listeners.
Right, exactly. Sorry, Chris, I don't know if you've seen this already. I do have to tell you, though, that unfortunately I don't think Joe listens to the show.
Not yet.
No, we're not holding anything against you, Joe. On the recent episode, the Mega Cast on EH Podcast, he talked about how he hasn't really had a chance to listen to the show. He also I think was under the impression that I have a couple of podcasts, but I don't know if he just thinks
might be that
Waffle Boat is not really an ongoing concern.
Right.
But anyway.
Well.
I mean, technically I have recorded a couple of podcasts a few times.
Right.
But anyway.
Just not concurrently.
Right, exactly. But yeah, so I don't want to say... Okay, so... The characterization that Kurt Russell had to fill out in this movie, for lack of a better way to say this, doesn't surprise me because I've seen him act this way in other films. Okay. Did you ever see Death Proof?
No.
No? Yeah. Not a lot of people did, honestly. It was one half of the Grindhouse double feature that Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez did years back. And one half of the film, which is a whole film, is called Death Proof. It's about this guy named Stuntman Mike, who's played by Kurt Russell, who's this guy who was a stuntman in the films, and he probably doesn't get as much work now as he used to. He's older, he's had a lot of injuries, but he has a car that he's quote-unquote death-proofed. So it's got this roll cage inside of it that no matter what happens, you're going to be fine. I mean, theoretically speaking. Right. But he's also a serial killer who kills people with this car. He can even kill, even if you're inside the car, he can kill you by driving the car a certain way.
Right.
So, nothing that he did in this movie necessarily surprised me. Because most people, I think of him as, Snake Plissken, or I forget his character's name in Big Trouble in Little China, or Captain Ron, or any number of other characters where he's more or less the good guy.
Which is interesting because, as a character, we obviously I watch most of the stuff with Elise at times, and we'll get to a commercial or something or break and go, I don't trust that character. I still don't trust that character. Yeah. Whatever. Never completely trusted him. And, not saying anything, but there's a couple other characters you don't completely trust.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, you'll never completely trust Yondu and, like that.
Yeah.
But when the twist of the movie happened, the one big twist of the movie happened, and when I heard Elise audibly gasp, I'm like, yeah, and then I was pretty much kind of
Are we talking about what I think we're talking about? Yeah,
yes.
Okay. I figured that that's what happened, but I didn't know if it was an intentional thing
yes,
on
exactly.
his part,
Yes,
or if it was an accident
because of
who
he
is and where he's exactly
yes,
right.
That's,
yeah,
and I had that first thought of it. I'm like, okay, and then when he just admittedly just said what he did, it's like that was when the
oh, you're this guy.
It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
now we know.
Yeah, exactly.
You jerk.
Initially, I was just like, oh, that just happened. What happened to her in the first film was just a byproduct.
And that's why he didn't come back.
Exactly. Right. That would have made sense, too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that was intentional, like they were leading us down that path to think
that may have been
maybe
the
that's what happened. Yeah, they might have. Do you need to take a break for a beverage?
No, just...
okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I do. So I'm going to pause real quick. BRB. Okay, break over. Todd has his water, and I've switched over from a Grape Aid to a, yet again, vitamin C fortified Mucho Mango fruit juice cocktail. Yes, with its consistent Arizona can design. We've moved over from
99 cents.
Yep, we've moved over from a purple and green to a more orange and yellow with some green can design. I feel bad for people who don't have Arizona where they live. Like if you live outside of the U.S. and they don't have Arizona there or something, I feel bad for you because Arizona's delicious.
Because isn't that like that's like 2 regular sized cans, right?
It is a 23 fluid ounce can. It's pretty.
So cans are 12 ounce, right? Yeah, so that's
more or less. Yeah,
because you get that for $1 unless you go to 7-Eleven and they overcharge you.
$1.29 at 7-Eleven for some reason.
I was used to joke. It's called 7-Eleven because everything is 7 to 11% more expensive than you would get elsewhere. That's what I used to tell people. They're like, "Really?" I'm like, "No, I'm making that up, but it sounds plausible."
Sure, why not? These were actually 4 for $2, so it cost me even less than 99 cents.
That reminds me just of the completely making something up and sounding like I know.
Yeah, right.
I was subbing the other day at the school, and I had this one kid who clearly was trying to ask me a question to just derail the fact that they were working, and I was able to just like immediately answer it and have them go. And great for an audio podcast. That look up. Oh, yeah. He actually said, "Hey, Mr. B, which came first, the chicken or the egg?" And without a beat, I said, "The egg." And he looked at me and he's like, "Well, how does it?" So you dinosaurs laid eggs long before the chicken evolved, and they went, and they were like, "What? Huh?
I never thought about it."
Well, then which came first, the dinosaur or the dinosaur? I'm like, you didn't ask me that question.
No. I mean, and there's no point in going into the which came first, the dinosaur or the dinosaur egg question, if you bothered to skip over the which came first, the chicken or the chicken egg question. You could have just asked that there.
Right.
But no. And that's always one of those sayings or one of those idioms I've been concerned with because of that exact reason. It's like, well, did somebody who doesn't understand evolution come up with this question, or are we just setting aside that whole realm of knowledge just to pose this hypothetical thought experiment, this prompt for thinking about, it's not really a question about chickens and eggs.
Right.
It's, this other thing. And it's like, well, couldn't you have thought up a better way to phrase that then? Because, I mean, does this question really predate our understanding of evolution? It might. I haven't actually looked into it, but one of those things that people say a lot that doesn't make sense. And then, of course, if you sit there and explain it to them, they're just like, what an asshole. What is wrong with you?
But at least these are 8th graders. They're just like, oh, I never thought of that. I'm like, good, because you can think about it while you get back to work. Okay, fine.
He's trying to take a break.
He's trying to take a break by saying I just shut him down completely.
By throwing out that old chestnut.
I'm like, why would you even ask that question?
Jeez.
Where'd that come from?
Oh, Mr. B!
You're 13 years old. Where is this coming from?
If a tree falls in the forest...
Does it make a sound? Yes.
Oh, are you sure?
Yes.
Mr. B?
Yes.
You put a cat in a box?
Yes.
And are you sure?
If you shake it.
Yeah, right? There, if you don't poke holes for air, you might have a dead cat.
But it'll still be a cat.
But hypothetically speaking, until you open the box, you're not sure it's dead. So your cat is both simultaneously alive and dead. It's like, yeah.
But here's the thing: I don't think these kids would go for that
Schrodinger's cat.
The Schrodinger's cat. No, I think that they'd be like, How do I say that first word?
Yeah, right.
Yes, you're 13. Go back to work.
Schroeder.
He's the kid in the... he plays piano in the Peanuts, right?
Sure he does. But yeah, so... Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was pretty fun. I liked it a lot. I mean... It has a lot of cachet. I mean, it has a lot going just immediately because of how good the first film was.
Yes.
Which
also raised the bar what people were expecting because no one was expecting a thing of that first one.
Yeah, it kind of worked again. I think it kind of balanced itself out, really.
Yeah. The
fact that you didn't expect anything from the first film, but now you expect something from it.
And they kept the same.
Yeah.
At least.
But you have this, it's got goodwill because it's a sequel to this movie everybody loves. Mm-hmm. I wonder if Daredevil 2 will do that same thing. I mean, similar situation, really.
Daredevil?
Oh, not Daredevil,
you mean
Deadpool.
Yeah,
the other red guy.
The other red guy.
Yeah, that guy. But, I mean, I guess there's some people are a little concerned about who's getting cast as Cable, but I guess it's Josh Brolin. So
see, but I thought Josh Brolin was Thanos.
He is, yes. So, but we're talking about Deadpool.
I understand.
So it's like this guy's been a few people.
Yeah.
Oh, back to Guardians of the Galaxy. Guess what thing I appreciated the most out of the whole movie? Well, I mean, it's not really.
Okay, see, I don't know. Was it that?
As somebody who likes old, shitty Marvel films.
Oh, were you going to talk about Howard the Duck showing
Hell
back up
yeah,
again?
Howard the Duck had lines this time.
Yeah, he was actually talking.
Yeah, man. Twice. He had 2 scenes, technically. And, well, you know what? I kind of complained about Stallone having a sort of shoehorned in role that only amounted to suggesting to a future film. But somebody else in the movie had a role that didn't... I mean, he's just going to be in another film later on, but I don't know if he really needed to be in this movie, was Jeff Goldblum's character. I don't even know who he's playing, but he was the guy who had the weird, like, little blue line on his bottom lip, and he's just in one scene.
I vaguely remember
he's
that going
literally on the screen for like 15 seconds, and he's in the he's in the credits and stuff. But I'm just like, I can't remember what other film he's showing up in, but it's in the next couple years.
And then we also had in one of the 5 post scenes, I called him Adam. Mm-hmm. Adam Warlock, right?
I was gonna say, do you know who that's about? Yeah, I was never huge.
I looked it up. Yeah. Let me be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, Adam in Guardians of the Galaxy post scene. Adam Warlock, okay.
Yeah. At first I was like, who? And then I was like,
well, it's interesting because they're playing off the Sovereign as being sort of bad guys at this point.
Yeah. And
creating Adam to destroy the Guardians of the Galaxy. But if you read anything about Adam Warlock, he's mostly a good guy and has had relationships with Gamora on a continuous basis. So it's like, I know you're tweaking characters for the cinematic universe and such like that, but it's funny. Like, so what is it? Does it backfire on you?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
All I have to say is beware Taserface.
Yeah, right. What a stupid character.
Taserface!
I mean, I get the joke. That was another joke.
That one was drawn out a bit.
A few times. It's like...
And even towards the end when the Sovereign laughed at him.
I was just like,
okay, that might have been a little bit far, but fine.
Well, that one would have been okay. Like, say they make the original joke, and then they touch on it again later, and then later on you have that third touch on it.
Yeah.
If you took the middle one out, do you know how much funnier that last one would be? Unless you're talking about, like, they...
Because it went...
the first threes.
Yeah, the rule of threes, but also to be just like the fact that the first one was not just a line. I mean, that was the complete...
A scene about
that was Rocket destroying him about his name, like Taserface. What do? Do you shoot tasers out of your face? Right. No, I invoke the terror of the fact of the... So it's more of an esoteric thing.
Jesus.
I really enjoyed Rocket in this film.
Oh, and you used to watch Farscape, right?
Yes, I did.
Did you catch the... Oh, we talked about...
We did talk about it, but I did not catch him in there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So
you said he was one of the Emmys, kind of, the Oscars.
Yeah, he just reports to the lead sovereign about the situation.
Right.
He's just standing off to the side there. He has a few lines, but it's not like a nudge, wink, wink. Here's this guy. I mean, I'm sure they cast him on purpose.
I'm sure.
I think it was accidentally later they were like, oh wait, you were in Farscape. But
it would have been more obvious if they had taken one of the more alien characters from Farscape and had them like as a background character.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I can't remember her character's name, but the chick who was blue with the white hair.
Right. She would have fit in a number of scenes.
She would have absolutely fit in a number of scenes and be like, oh, there's what's her face there from Farscape, or Pilot or something in the background or something from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to mention earlier, but like I don't want to sound like some like out of control social justice warrior character, but the level of bullying out of Drax towards Mantis was almost over the line.
Oh my god! Yeah, it's like you are ugly.
Straight up. I mean, it's not.
Even at the end, you think he's being nice. Like, you are beautiful on the inside.
Right. It's like, I don't feel like what he was doing was out of character for him.
Right.
So at least that makes sense.
But I feel like there was a bit of
there
was a little bit more of an edge on it that
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, that's true. I didn't think much about it. Like, I mean, as it was happening, I'm like, wow, he's really...
And I was trying to think to myself, like, if there would have been some redemption, and it would have like brought that whole that whole line of character interaction to a close, if there had been like a clear moment where he like is clearly into her. Like, I mean, he's there, it's kind of there if you want it to be there. If you look at it from a certain angle, you're like, oh, he's into her. But I don't know if it would have been better if he had come out more openly and like, been interested in her in a way that everyone else would have recognized. Or if that's worse, because then it's like that kind of schoolyard, like, the girl you beat up on is the girl you have a crush on kind of thing.
You pulled her pigtails, or in her case, pulled her antenna.
Which is something that's very, very much not cool.
Right,
I mean? Like, you can't be doing that. I mean, when we were kids, I'm sure I did it, and maybe
I've been told that I did.
Yeah, but, like, that's the kind of thing that you will get kicked out of school for nowadays.
Oh, yes, absolutely, for quite some time.
Like, if you bullied a girl, that's bad enough, but if you told them, I'm bullying her because I'm attracted to her, that's, like, that's even worse almost.
That's next
you know what I
level
mean?
shit.
Like, yeah, that's really weird, bro.
I will say the one other thing which Elise and I discussed too, and she'll say it's one of the reasons why she's liked both films, but there's something nice about, there is some heart and some soul to the movie.
Yeah.
About the way they develop the characters, because they are so flawed across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And like the scene that was just like really kind of telling about Drax's character, bringing about, it was a scene with Mantis when they were sitting on the steps on Eco. And he was looking at the water, saying, these look like these remind me of the lost lakes of whatever, where I used to bring my daughter, blah blah blah, the whole thing.
Right. And
she reaches over very nicely and touches him, and like,
and she's an empath,
and she completely loses it, bawling, crying, and he just has like that kind of like stoic. You can he's stoic, but you see that
a little closer to the surface.
You get a little bit of you can see that there's the twinge of what she's feeling. So it's like she's his like avenue for the audience to see. He's really messed up inside, for obvious reasons.
Yep.
But there was that, and which is funny because I it's the Guardians movies are the only I think I can think of that I really kind of got really touched with things. The ending was really touching. I mean, like, you could first of all the way death scenes not giving away.
Yeah. A certain character.
Right, well, just like, who was your daddy? Mm-hmm. And...
Well, your father, but I'm
right, exactly. There was that, which was really, really something. And when Rocket turns and they came. And you realize what's happening. It's just like... And it's funny, it's like, we were not in a very full theater, because obviously we went to, like, a morning showing. Mm-hmm. But, like, you heard people. Getting choked up over the few scenes, which was really kind of nice. That it's not just the run around big bash scenes that there was, and it definitely ended very differently than the first film. I mean, the first film was, all right, triumphant, together, let's go. What are we gonna do? Something good, something bad? How about a little bit of both? All right, let's go.
Well, the first film kind of does it, and they sort of cheat and get away with it at the same time, because you have Groot, quote unquote, dying. But by the end of the movie, you get this kind of reassurance that it's okay, because Groot's still kind of alive.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if technically... There's a certain argument to be made for whether or not that's actually Groot anymore.
Right.
Or if that's just a cut. Like they just made a cutting and grown a new Groot off of him. Is there like a continuity of character there?
Definitely
seems to be.
Right.
He seems to have a relationship with the people just like he did in the first film.
Right.
Who knows if that's just because he's just that simple, you know what I mean?
Right.
As a life form. But I mean, the character that you're talking about did get... I mean, in a certain respect, I didn't really feel like what happened was that surprising.
No.
Because they were certainly setting up for this character's redemption. And there were a lot of like, okay, well, this character is on his way out. We have to give him some big moments, some funny moments, some heroic moments, like the whole "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all." Just like, what?
Is he cool? Yes, he is. What?
Right? It's just like, what? I've seen a number of different fan arts on Twitter and Instagram.
that did not
Mary
take
Poppins.
long.
Yeah, right.
There's just as simple as that character's face on Mary Poppins' body.
Just my saying the line
horribly,
kind of spoils who we're talking about, but whatever.
Yeah.
But
and I felt that character was going to become a part of literally was about to become part of the team for the next film.
Yeah.
Like clearly it looks like Mantis is probably going to become part of what's going on.
Yeah.
And what's her face? Nebula.
Oh, right.
Like I sense her. I mean, like whatever at this point.
At first, when that gold makeup really, first of all, just covers somebody up. Like you can't really tell who they are. It also helps that sometimes if you don't know who somebody is in the first place and then they're covered up with the gold makeup, it can make things really ambiguous. Like at first when I saw the leader of the Sovereign, I was like, is Karen Gillan playing two roles in this movie?
Right, yeah.
I literally thought
I could see that, yeah.
Well, we just don't have a whole lot for her throughout the movie, so why don't we just have her play two roles?
But she definitely had a lot more in this movie than the last movie.
For sure.
And as a character, they gave her more.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, the last movie, she was just the pissed off, you know, daughter of a mystical, galactic being.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's something definitely much more about her.
Yeah, you find out why she's all broken.
Right, and that there was a little redemption there, too, which was cool, but, like, she still was, I'm just gonna go and do this.
Yeah, right?
Like, I don't care. It's like, well, then...
Yeah, the one scene, the huge scene, I think was one of the scenes that got the most reactions out of Liz. Like, when Gamora's just kind of walking around by herself, and then her sister shows up, like, in a very immediate way. Liz was just like, oh shit. She was mostly quiet throughout the movie. There were a couple moments, the really emotional moments where she was obviously moved and stuff like that. But, like, just that one scene, I think most of all, Liz was like, whoa! I was just like, oh, she's fucking insane. She's trying to kill her sister.
Yep.
With whatever tools she has available to her. But, overall, I thought it was really good. It was really good. I don't know if they should just keep making them.
Well, the next time we're going to see them is next year in Avengers.
Oh, yeah?
They're going to be in this Infinity War next year, I believe.
Oh, yeah. That's
so they're going to be a show. I don't know if it's going to be the whole team or how they're going to do that, but apparently I have seen that's where... I mean, that's why... I mean, I think that's part of the reason why the final card right before the first post-movie scene happens, it says, they will return. It doesn't say in Volume 3.
That's true, too.
Or something, so... I mean, that's kind of the interesting thing about the Avengers movies, about how you kind of can bring those other people back in like that, so... That'll be interesting because they're very... The Avengers are basically Earth-based.
And you've got cosmic heroes.
And then you got the cosmic heroes.
But not I mean, well, kind of, not really cosmic beings, but just space characters, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, then there's the other question I have for you, knowing more about comics, because knowing the main character is a Celestial, right?
Okay.
There are other Celestials?
Oh, yeah.
The question, yes.
Yeah.
And I know, like, we happened to catch... we were about to go to sleep last night, or the night, and I was flipping around the channels because automatically our cable goes to the news, and I'm like, I cannot watch any more about the president right now.
Yep.
So I start flipping channels. I'm like, oh, look, Guardians 1 just happens to be on FX, and it was when they were going to nowhere, and they're like, oh, yes, the severed head of a celestial being. I went, she was asking, like, hitting her. I'm like, hey, she's just another celestial.
Yep. I mean, there are, like, all kinds of Celestials of different... I mean, not all of them are giant creatures.
Right, yeah.
Like, not a big actual physical being type thing. And, I mean, there's other characters like the Living Tribunal is a Celestial, I think. And even the Watchers are Celestials. So there were a bunch of them in this movie. Just in, kind of a comedy scene. But what did you think about, like, them having to take too many jumps and going all cartoony?
Okay, I'm sorry. I was laughing my ass off at that one.
I was kind of hoping that they were going to, like, do a couple of scenes where they, kind of like, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy style, like when they use the Infinite Heart of Gold engine. Sometimes
Never saw the movie.
Oh, you didn't see that?
Nope.
They have a spaceship that allows them to jump from point A to point B in the universe almost instantaneously. But it sometimes does surreal things, like it'll turn your ship into a bouquet of roses or a whale.
Okay.
Just for a moment.
Right.
You just turn back into a ship. So I was kind of hoping that while they were jumping, they would do some weird things like just shoehorn some other characters in there. You just have permutated into something else that looks similar.
In the background.
Yeah, or just, if Howard the Duck hadn't been in the movie already. At one point, Rocket looks like Howard the Duck in Rocket's costume or something like that. They get real weird. But, they didn't
I mean, that was obviously for comedy sake, but that was one of those times I started laughing, and the fact that that one went on longer, I was laughing harder and harder about it. That is like the scene. You seen Bruce Almighty?
I haven't seen it in a long time. But
there's a scene where I can't think of the actor's name who plays his rival in the newsroom.
Okay.
And he's already taken on the role of God, Jim Carrey,
okay.
And he's in the background, just going and mouthing and making him blah, 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 blah. And they doing all that stuff, and that goes on forever. That's one of those. That's another one of those scenes. If it comes up or gets referenced, we just start laughing, and that's that type of scene that the whole morphing of the faces it went on because they drew it out, made it funnier. I think they probably could have gone too far, but I don't think they did, which is nice. I can't think.
Who was his? Because I feel I haven't seen it a lot. Oh, Steve Carell.
Steve Carell, thank you.
Yeah, he's totally pulling a.
He's pulling his
Basically, doing his character from Anchorman, just being a complete moron.
Mm-hmm. And he's just doing all
just doing the brick thing. So Guardians of the Galaxy, it's pretty good. We just saw the other day. We watched because neither one of us had bothered. We pulled up Doctor Strange. Which is okay.
We saw it in the theaters, and we have it sitting at home on 3D Blu-ray, which was still in the shrink wrap, but we got it as soon as we could. Yeah. Another very different Marvel movie because of it's more the mystical side of things, which is interesting.
But it has a little bit. It's gonna tie into
Well, he meets up again with Thor at the end of the movie.
Right.
That's been out too long, and that's not good.
But also Infinity Stones.
Right, because he's got the Infinity Stone. They didn't really specifically, going back quickly to the Guardians, there were no shown Infinity Stones in this one, were there?
Not that I remember,
okay,
no.
I'm just making sure that
Unless
I didn't miss something.
His dad had something that we just didn't...
Okay.
Was never really drawn attention to.
I just want to make sure I missed something, because I know since they brought up, there was obviously a Infinity Stone in the first one. I'm like, is there going to be one in this one?
Right. Oh shit, I said his dad. Never mind.
Whatever.
Too bad.
Whee! Yeah. But, the thing about Doctor Strange was very interesting is, he still really is not Doctor Strange at the end of the movie. He's so not progressed to, I guess, what his final character is.
Yeah.
He had been forced into what he was doing, which made that very interesting.
The one thing I thought, and this is a really weird thing to take away from the movie, that I thought was interesting about it was the, I forget who plays the villain.
Mikkelsen.
Was it Mads?
Mads Mikkelsen?
Mads Mikkelsen,
yes.
Right. So when they've just started to harness this dark energy, and they're the area around their eyes is all fucked up and cracked up, and Strange is like, what are you doing? Basically, he's like, what are you doing trying to harness this energy? And he's like, yeah, we're totally winning. And he's like, have you fucking looked at yourself lately? Why do you think you're the good guy? There need to be more moments like that in movies where this person's like, I'm triumphant, finally! I'm totally winning and everything's great. And someone just be like, you're the bad guy, look at you. You might be winning, but that doesn't make you good. Congratulations and everything, but really? Look at you, dude. What is wrong with you? So we watched that, and then Doctor Strange, and immediately afterwards I was compelled to watch Dr. Mordred, which I'm assuming you've never seen. Let me step away from the table real quick.
I know nothing. I feel like I've heard of this title, besides knowing about Mordred and the stories of the Round Table and Arthur.
In the 90s, Full Moon.
Well back in The olden days of the 90s.
They were going to make a Doctor Strange movie.
Oh boy.
And Full Moon was going to make it. The guys behind the Puppet Master films. And it was going to star Jeff Combs, who was famous at the time as being the lead character in Reanimator, which is like one of the classic splatter horror films of the 80s. Is that early 90s? Late 80s. Anyhow. But then Marvel was like, yeah, no, we're going to pull that. You guys can't make that movie anymore. And they were just like, no, we're just going to make it anyway. And just change his name to Dr. Mordrid. And it is a shit show. But in kind of a...
Is that a movie that should be Mystery Science Theatered?
Maybe. It's sort of an endearing thing, but it's literally the same story. I mean, like, he's the Sorcerer Supreme type character, and he's like just a regular day-to-day guy, but he also... I mean, it's not the exact same story, because he's not a doctor who has his hands injured, but it's pretty funny.
Same thing.
Yeah, they're just like, whatever, we're gonna make it anyway.
Another large bit of conversation. Speaking of doctors.
Doctor? The Doctor? Doctor Who? Yes, Doctor Who.
Don't you know who I'm talking about?
I don't. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but Doctor Who wasn't available to people in America until 2005.
Apparently
so
not.
I've never heard of it.
Jeez. Have you ever heard of the internet?
Yeah, I was telling Todd that I was, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I mean, like, the person I'm talking about doesn't give a shit. But I was listening or watching a YouTube video the other day for somebody I subscribe to, and they were talking about, in the course of their conversation, how some of the people on this show, their show I should say, were not as familiar with Doctor Who as some people would expect. And their explanation for that was that here in America, we didn't get Doctor Who until 2005. So there's no reason for them to be familiar with it. Except that we totally did have Doctor Who in every state that has a, PBS, which is all of them, I think.
Yeah.
And if these people are from where I think they are, somewhere in the Northeast, where we have smaller states, they likely had access to 2 or 3 PBS stations
at a time
that would have run them every week.
Mm-hmm.
But,
people.
Whatever. Never mind the fact that we had home video releases besides that. So...
Because, nothing from outside of the country gets released on a video.
They didn't fly...
in this country.
No.
There were no airplanes. Nothing got imported.
Never. We never imported any entertainment from England.
No.
To America.
We didn't know about James Bond.
What? Who? But yeah, so Doctor Who's been back for 4 weeks now.
And I feel this is the first thought I had after the first episode, and it was solidified after the second episode, which is like, great, now they're actually writing him well enough that's going to make him leaving mean something more.
Yeah, feel like, yeah,
right.
like
so it's like, great, now,
because he's been a great doctor.
I feel like across the board, because his doctor has had a more varied role, so to speak. I mean, he started out like just his first season he was a dick, and he really was.
Yeah.
For every reason in the world, but the way they've actually turned him around and what he is right now is knowing that it's coming away, and they've made a couple of very slight allusions about nothing's forever. I'm like, oh, you're starting this shit.
Last episode said something about regeneration.
Right, he brought up
means.
Yeah, and then he just completely slided over it. And there was another non-Bill relation where he said something like that too. And it's like, well, okay, so we're obviously hinting up to that.
Yeah.
But let's see. So the first episode was just a pilot. They call it a pilot, which is interesting because they're saying they were considering that Moffat's leaving and he's leaving.
Right, and then Bill will be this avenue of continuity for anybody who jumps on now.
A lot of people have said that Bill was not. It was like there was going to be sort of what happened when Moffat took over, clean wash, that new doctor, new companion, new everything. So Bill was going to be like a one and out season, a 1 season character.
Maybe,
but I don't know. I mean, obviously things change.
Yeah, even if she doesn't stay on, it's still the character, and the character of the companion has always served to be the avenue through which the fan sees the show and learns about it.
Absolutely.
And, finds out where they are, what the story's all about, asks the questions.
From what I understood, too, I read a story that she didn't really know much about Doctor Who prior to being cast.
Which I think it's fine.
Right. Well, apparently she went to like the executives in Moffat and said, "Can you give me the back catalog to watch?" And they said no.
Which is seems that like they clearly have a design on it.
Right. So they said you don't know about who he is, so you should not know his past. I'm like, well, that's actually really interesting.
One way to do it.
I just felt it was interesting that they actually are really playing. They really were playing this up as like a reboot of the series, considering it's going to reboot again when Chris Chibnall takes over.
But that's also a really good way to get people to understand what the show's all about.
Absolutely,
because that was the one thing that I really hated post. When 2005 came around. And then even people who missed the first season and just started watching when Tennant came in, when Tennant was getting ready to leave, everybody lost their fucking minds. And they were like, oh man, this show, they just switch people in and out, and I don't like this next guy. And it's like, well, maybe you're not a Doctor Who fan.
You don't understand.
Like David Tennant's doing other shows now, so you can go watch those. Because this is what Doctor Who is all about. And I've never... From time to time, I'll get this feeling that like, oh, well, I don't like this companion as much as the other companion, but I've never, ever once looked at a character or an actor or somebody playing a role in Doctor Who and said, yeah, this person doesn't fit in Doctor Who, or this person isn't this character. It's just like, that's what Doctor Who is about. I don't know if it's just the nature of, growing up with it and having seen... when I was a kid, at least 4 or 5 guys play the character. Maybe 6, actually. And just being like, this is just what the show's about. Different people play different characters. And different, this just comes and goes and switches out. Just the nature of what it is.
And what they also I say updated, but which is really not the true term, because they actually like regressed the opening BBC thing, the black and white, when BBC pops up and the sound effect comes up. So instead of like that red background with a BBC, it's like black background, white graphic, and the little BBC thing, like very old school looking. Like that they did that.
I didn't notice that.
I noticed that the first episode, I'm like, oh, they're really going for this. That this is the pilot.
Oh, okay.
So I thought that was interesting. It's funny that he's a professor who just happens to talk and everyone just shows up.
Sure, why
not? It's not really a class, and then if that's an ongoing thing that we even heard up into the knock.
I mean, he's probably shown them the psychic papers, so he appears to have the credentials.
Right. Well, yes.
That's why he has this job.
This, and they will love him. It's like, the box is on top of the rug.
How'd that get there?
There? Yeah.
It's all...
Which was the funniest gift that she gave him. Was it Christmas or something? It's like, here, it's a rug. What?
Right, I don't know.
And the fact that they made her, she's the first main character who is outwardly gay.
Yeah, an LGBTQ,
whatever. I mean, you had Jack, but he's still considered more minor in terms of the show overall.
Yeah. Well, he was
more omnisexual.
She is a more nuanced character, I think.
Yeah.
As opposed, some people might even accuse Jack of being a really broad stereotype. He's a great big spaceman whore. So it's like,
and they do the term omnisexual.
Yeah.
For him, he was just like whatever. Where even this last episode where the one roommate's trying to get nice, she's like, you're not my type. I generally go for girls. And he's like, oh. Like,
I never had a chance then.
Okay.
I like the way that was handled. He's
exactly.
Just like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, fine.
As soon as
they strike out, I wasn't even in the fucking game.
It's like, I was on the outside of the stadium. I'm just going to go in my room and die now.
Oh, wait. Soccer over here. Yeah, he literally did go in his room and die.
Yeah.
Okay, so pilot was okay. I didn't mind it.
It did the job.
It felt, and I said this when I called in and gave feedback on 11th Hour, is that it's very much your introductory episode. This is the learning about this new character and who this character is to the Doctor and how they relate to each other. And the second episode I thought was a little bit more of that.
And that was I forget titles.
Yeah.
That was the one with the robots?
Yes, Smile.
Wow.
Yeah. Which was an okay episode, but I had my problems with it. I'm telling you about it.
Right, yeah, robots are... And they said, I don't think they were meant to look...
Right, scary.
I agree with that.
Well, and even when they were supposed to be a little bit menacing, the whole when they switched their faces over to emoticons,
yeah.
I was just like, whatever.
I feel like that was a little forced thing, but okay, I'll get it. Oh, they speak emoji. Really? Okay, fine.
Yeah, and they talked about this on 11th Hours that... And, there's been some commentary about this just in general in Doctor Who fandom, is that how silly is it that something that is current to us today is something that's going to be like a main big part of the idea of an episode of something that's set in the far-flung future. Yes. They're still using emojis? Like, really?
Emojis that turn into skulls. Right. Really? Like, what?
Yeah, it's kind of goofy. And I had some other problems with it, like I was telling you about the characters not having names, and just it felt a little rushed. It was okay, but whatever.
And then it wasn't. Knock Knock was the fourth one.
Right, episode 3
was
the fish poop episode.
Fish poop episode, yeah, which I thought was really well done in overall sense, except for the. Oh, okay, that's what exactly you said. The fish poop episode. It's interesting, but it was The Beast Below.
Yeah,
it was The Beast Below. Yeah. I'm not saying that as a bad thing, because I did enjoy it. It wasn't even
just The Beast Below, in that it was a great big thing underneath them.
But it was the same thing. It was like, it wasn't doing anything wrong. It wasn't going to turn and destroy everyone.
But even beyond that, it was like this instance where the Doctor knows what he has to do.
Oh yeah,
and he has to do what he has to do.
How Bill reacts,
and exactly, and his companion is like, "This is unconscionable," and the Doctor's like, "Well,
this is what it is.
What would you do if you were in my position? Now you make the choice."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very much the same kind of template.
Because then when he gives his speech, and there's that moment of she turns and okay, I kind of think I get you now.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happens that's her third episode, but it was Karen Gillan's second episode.
Yeah.
So they did it a little. They stretched her a little bit longer. But yeah, I felt as an overall that was one of the. I think Knock Knock. I think that was probably stronger than Knock Knock. Knock Knock.
You think so? I didn't think it was terrible.
I think 3 and 4 are the better of the two. I think it's kind of ramped up for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I don't really know. Yeah, 4 was really great. There's a lot that can go wrong with that type of setting to me, because as somebody who watches a lot of horror films, the creepy house with a bunch of kids that you just met going into it. I'm not going to care about these people, and I honestly didn't feel like this episode expected me to care about these people. There was not a whole lot of character building.
There were just
things that happened along the way that told the Doctor this is a situation that needs to get fixed. So it's not like I didn't feel like they were asking for an emotional response out of me that wasn't warranted at all. It was just, these are things that have to happen, A, to fill out an episode, and B, to foment situations so that the Doctor has to become more involved in it, which that's perfectly acceptable to me. And there's a lot that they didn't do with the whole creepy house trope. And there were certain, like I was telling you about at lunch, I was just certain things about it that were weird to me about the whole, I was saying it felt like initially maybe this was written as an episode that was supposed to involve the Cybermen.
Right.
Or some type of cyber conversion.
Because we're supposed to get the old-time Cybermen.
Right. Original, pre-Cybus Cybermen.
Is it
Mondasian?
Yeah. Mondasian,
yeah.
Which is interesting, because I know they said that was Capaldi's favorite monster. So I don't know if they did that for him or just happened to be that way.
Yeah. I've never really cared so much about the Cybermen myself, but whatever. If you're going to be a robot, give me the Daleks. But when you don't have the rights to the Daleks, I guess, because you
can only use them so often.
Yeah, over the years there were some rights issues with Terry Nation, and they're like, well, fuck you, we'll just put another robot in there. But so this is a woman who was dying, and she was converted into some kind of wood person in order to keep herself alive. Which is, if those the wood lice I guess is what they're calling them.
Right, or what was the other thing he was calling them for a moment? No, gosh.
I don't remember.
He said, at least that's what I'm calling them.
Yeah, something like that. But
yeah, the wood lice, really?
Wood lice, yeah. So it's like they've just taken the cyber mats and just taken the cyber mats out and plugged in these wooden things that do the exact same thing. So I half imagine some other universe where this was just somebody who was, somewhat converted into a Cyberman or some cyber hybrid person to,
And they, before they started actually putting together, like, we need another episode earlier in the season. So
let's change we know that later in the season we have the Cybermen in a more, a story that more befits them, that has the correct amount of gravity. And so we don't want to have this other thing happened earlier on that doesn't have anything to do with it, so it makes it kind of weird. So let's just turn it into these wood things instead. But I don't know, there were certain things that while I did like the episode, and it was probably my favorite so far, I didn't really... I thought it was really cheap. Well, not really cheap, but the end of it was a big cheat to me. Was like, okay, so we saw these people ostensibly die during the episode. In a way, that 2 of the 3, I think we saw 3 people, quote unquote, die in the episode. One of them gets kind of absorbed into a wall.
Halfway.
Right. And then all the way.
Yeah.
Okay, if you tell me later on that person's alive, okay. I'll give it to you. We don't know what happens to him on the other side of that wall. I just saw him go into it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, maybe that guy's alive. But the other 2 people look like they are devoured where they stand in pieces by a group of, like, carnivorous beetles.
Yeah.
And then later they're just put back together. Now, I don't know if... obviously that's just you're supposed to look like they're being eaten. But maybe they're really being drawn into the floor the same way that guy went into the wall.
Yeah, I feel like that's it. I feel it's also partial that these beetles, for again, lack of a better term,
roaches,
the things that they were the house. That's what they were saying. That the house was what those beetles are. They make it up, so that they are just. It's just pretty much the extension of the house, bringing them into the house. So. I didn't have as much a problem with that, but I can see what you're saying, because it definitely looked like, for me, it looked like early 2000s Mummy with the scarabs. Yeah. Like they're done.
Yeah, it looks like they're getting eaten.
Yeah.
Right? There should be pieces of them in those roaches' poop, right?
You would think.
There's not a whole person on the other side of that, right? But I guess so. So I thought that was a little bit weird, but and I guess, it's just the nature of me being overly analytical, and there's not room for it necessarily in the episode, but, like, what do those people say about where they were all that time? Like, there was just blackness.
Yeah.
At one moment I was getting covered with beetles, and the next moment they just
went away,
and this period of time passed in the middle that I can't account for, or I was just in some abyss, or I was some other place,
or I could see everything that was happening from where I was, but I couldn't do anything about it. Right. Like, there's so many different things it could be.
And so these people this happens to them, and we find out that they're fine later.
Yeah.
So what happens to these characters, the dude and the woodwoman at the end of the episode? The same thing. They just get wood liced away. So they're not dead. They're just wherever or whatever happens with those people.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, where's the solution in that?
We can't specifically say that there's never been any type of continuity errors in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I mean,
I understand it's just a convenience for the sake of the plot and everything like that, keep everything moving, but it
was actually a very, not the most deep of episodes.
No, not at all. What I did like about it, though, was that, and I said this in as much as in my emailed feedback to the guys at EH Podcast, but I felt it was closer to some of, like, the gothic horror episodes that were prevalent during the Tom Baker era. And, like, there were some episodes, scattered throughout the series that follow these same lines and stuff like that. But there were specific characters from classic series episodes that I felt that I was very much reminded of by this landlord character.
He looked... Now, this is not that I've ever really watched... I don't watch horror films. He looked like a character from what I recognize... I want to say Phantasm.
Okay, I know what you mean.
Like
yeah,
the
he's
old
very
dude?
Much the same. Yeah, okay.
Like the kind of creepy looking old dude.
He's
but it was like less. There was. I mean, there was a definite like familiarity in the makeup of the face, and not that I've watched Phantasm.
Yeah, I know
but I know like having seen just commercials for it as a kid or come across it, and that's like he really did look like a character from something.
Yeah, looks like that kind of character. Yeah. He's like the character you're talking about is a character called the Tall Man, who's played by a guy named Angus Scrim. In their actual like personality, they're not very similar because Angus Scrim's Tall Man is just this. He's a mortician who he's always after you, like he's just trying to kill people or do whatever he's trying to do. Whereas this guy seems to have like he's not as much of a shark kind of thing. Where he's just always moving and doing things. But yeah, no, I see what you mean totally.
So
like if you saw still of them side by side, you'd be like, oh,
and for me, just having that vague connection, I was like, I really was like, this guy's really creepy. And I didn't actually put my finger on it until well after I'd seen we watched the episode.
Gotcha.
Like, he's very familiar. I'm like, I can't know where, I don't.
He's been in some stuff, I'm sure, like plenty of. His name is David Suchet. I assume his name is
Sushi.
Sushi. My apologies. He played Poirot.
Okay.
In Agatha, like BBC productions. He's been in a lot of stuff. Not necessarily a lot of stuff that I've seen, but he's in a lot of stuff. A lot of BBC. Using Great Expectations, for example. A lot of stuff. But I'm not super excited about the next episode, just based on the trailer.
Never watched it because they've been showing the trailer in the middle. We watched it BBC America.
Right.
And they've been showing the trailer into class, and we're not we're recording class, but we're not watching it yet because we didn't record the first episode.
Gotcha.
And I know we'll go back to it, so we actually have really not seen much in terms of the coming soons.
Yeah.
So which is making it a little more interesting for us. We're kind of in that like the spoiler curtain.
Gotcha.
It's like self-imposed, so to speak.
Right.
Not because it's just because we're not watching it on time, or else we'll probably go back and go, oh, so that's what those look like.
Right. Episode 3 was called Thin Ice.
Thin Ice.
Going into episode 3, though, from episode 2, because I know that somewhere along the line, in the season, there's an episode about the Ice Warriors. And I've never really cared. I mean, I've talked about this. I've never really cared about the Ice Warriors. So I wasn't looking forward to that episode, but I was pleasantly surprised by that episode. So I'm hoping that the next episode, it's called Oxygen, is of interest to me. I don't know if you want to know anything about it.
I don't really care much.
So the trailer is basically something happens in space, and there are space suits and people going out into space, but there's zombies. Like at some point, people who are in the space suits die in space and they become zombies. So it's like some kind of space zombie thing. And I'm like,
space zombies.
I'm like, I don't know. But I'm hoping I'm as surprised and happy with it as I was with Thin Ice, because
well, we'll
I didn't
see what
expect
happens.
to like it. Yeah.
I mean, the one of the last things that I specifically thought of beforehand, talking about Doctor Who. That because always the ongoing thing with the series has been that the Doctor regenerates at Christmas, always, and so now we're hearing. Have you seen or heard that he's going to be actually regenerating in the last episode of the series?
I wouldn't be surprised based on the title.
Okay, it's like the Doctor's Last Stand.
It's called The Doctor Falls.
There it is.
Yeah.
Now. There's not been an official announcement, has there?
I don't think there has been, but there's been some.
There are
next to official.
A
lot of people are supposing that it's a ruse. There's a person who's
Chris.
Yeah, I forget his name.
He's
somebody who does not look like a doctor.
He's a Ginge. Yeah. That's the one thing we're like, oh, he'll be a Ginge soon.
Right.
And it's funny because like it was almost it was almost not an argument. We had disagreement. Of, like. At least like it's been officially announced. I'm like, it's not like on a BBC site, but it's on all these like official adjacent sites saying, oh yeah, it's this guy. So it's like almost like they're really, really trying to keep it off the radar.
Yeah. Because
I feel like a lot of people are not. There's talk about that it's happening at the end of the season as opposed to Christmas, but it's not like it's expected that it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's what exactly they're trying to do, if they're trying to throw people off the trail of when it happens, or if they're trying to throw people off, who it's going to be. But it does seem like there's some kind of subterfuge and some sort of, like,
which is good, because
willful obfuscation.
There's always this whole I know when it's going to happen thing.
Yeah.
And there's actually... It would be really nice in this day and age with so much social media and so much information out there about things for them to actually surprise.
Yeah, it would be kind of nice. I mean, I feel like they did manage to surprise... I mean, not surprise us about who it was going to be, but, Matt Smith's regeneration into Capaldi was fairly surprising, and in a manner we'd not seen before. I've never seen a sneeze regeneration.
The sneeze regeneration.
We didn't have this long, drawn-out bursting of energy pseudo-Christ moment, so...
Pseudo-Christ.
I appreciated that. It was the unsurprised surprise.
And then his first line, do you know how to fly this thing? Really?
Yeah, so that was nice. I mean, they don't always have to... It's just the nature of the show. It would be interesting to see something different too, but whatever. Joe and Chris were talking about how in the modern series, the example I just stated or just referenced being an obvious exclusion, but for the most part in the modern series, the regeneration has been fairly consistent. Whereas in the classic series, they tried a lot of really weird stuff. And it might be kind of nice for them to try a really weird thing again. Something that's just not, all that orange energy bursting out of somebody.
Right.
What the obvious example being the Watcher. I don't know if you remember Tom Baker's transition into...
See, I didn't... We've kind of stalled out on it, but we went back and started looking at the old stuff.
Yeah. So in the classic series, when they were trying to switch, or when they were transitioning from 4th to 5th Doctor, in the final story, there's this character called the Watcher who just shows up, and I think only a couple people see him, and he's just this weird ghostly apparition who just appears sometimes and just stands off in the distance and just looks at you. Like, that's fucking weird. I'm gonna keep on going like this isn't happening right now.
I'm gonna ignore this.
And then you find out that this is like some kind of future echo of the next Doctor coming just to make sure that everything goes right, so that he's going to turn into the next guy.
Interesting.
It's really bizarre, yeah. It's a really strange thing they decided to do. But yeah, I will be looking forward to seeing much more Doctor Who.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy that the school year's coming to an end, because we can start paying more attention to things like that.
Yeah, man, we're getting there this year. I don't know, man. It's already almost June.
I barely believe it's May.
Yeah, that's true. Really yeah, well, we're only a few days into May, really. But...
Well, and with the way this week is, with school stuff going through, I mean, by the time Rest for the Weary hits, it's going to be Tuesday of next week. It's like, all right, we're halfway done.
Yeah, right.
And then it's Memorial Day weekend. And then school's out. Oh, great. Here we go.
Then it's Dice Tower Con time almost. We'll be doing that this July.
With our massive party of people going there this year.
Yeah, well, it's bigger than ever, so...
They ended up selling out, too.
Yeah, I think that sounds like they might have hit the sweet spot.
And they're on waitlist.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
They've been posting. Okay, release some tickets to waitlist.
Yep. It'll be nice, because, like the last few years, it's been hard for people to get in. If you didn't get in, as soon as possible, you missed out. So now they're at a position where they have enough tickets for everybody who was there last time who wants to go again, and enough room for people who can't get to it immediately.
Yeah, we're definitely at that point where you haven't seen people going, oh, damn it, I missed. Mm-hmm. And, again, in our immediate traveling party, I mean, of those of us who are going to dinner the night before, and we have a reservation for 10 people.
Crazy.
I mean, that's Elise and I, you and Liz, our friends Chris and Teddy. Rissa's accounted in that. Autumn's accounted in that. Right. I think Pat's accounted in that.
Oh, geez, I forgot.
Something like
totally.
It's interesting.
Where are we going? Boma? Yeah. All right, that's what we told Autumn. We were like, yeah, we gotta go to Boma.
Yes, and they seem pretty excited about it as much as they can.
So did you see that I had ordered that Mario Kart sweater?
Did you order it?
Wait. Okay, so I ordered this...
No, there was a Yoshi's Island thing I saw. Okay.
I'm still looking at getting that, and I'm hoping that I'll order that in the right size. But I had ordered this XL Mario Kart sweater, and it arrived, and I put it on, and it was just like, what? It was just like clinging to me, and I was like, this is not an XL. And then I've just come to realize that Chinese sizes and American sizes are far different because they're smaller people. So
were you looking for some nerdy stuff to wear in the cold?
I just thought like a Mario Kart sweater. Come on. So it's way too small for me. So I gave it to Liz and had her give it to Autumn. So
very nice.
Yes, that's a good solution to having clothes that are too small for you. Just give them to a smaller person.
There's a smaller person who will appreciate them. Because,
yes.
Boy.
Yep.
Another nerd.
True that. All right, well, I guess we got all of our talking out.
Yeah, I'm sure we could go on for another hour probably, but...
Probably.
Yeah, that would be a bad
People got lives and stuff, man.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I gotta go pull some ropes.
Pull some ropes?
Hey, work the curtains.
Okay, stage
School
stuff.
musical!
All right.
Yay. See you all eventually next time.
Bye!